Hey, welcome into another edition of Across the Bar, the new podcast that I'm working on because I have way too much free time and can't sit around watching The Big Bang Theory all the time. I need to do something with my time. And joining me today is a special friend, a guy who has taken care of, helped me in life. When I was going through an issue, he called me up, said, "Hey, let's not talk basketball. Let's just go play golf." And we went out to Cobblestone and played golf. He's a good friend of mine, a great basketball coach, a great mentor, a great family man, Frank Martin. And good to see you again. Yeah, we were comparing beards. Mine's got a little less white and gray than yours does.
When COVID hit me, in whatever the COVID year, the year we played in empty gyms, I had it twice, and the second time it hit me, it beat the snot out of me, and it attacked my immune system. And I developed arthritic pain in my hands. Chuck Martin and I got it at the same time. We were both beat up. I remember neither one of us went to the LSU game. And my hands hurt. My shoulder, I couldn't hold the ball. My shoulders, I couldn't touch the top of my head. But I had shaved my head already. But then all my hair fell out, facial hair, body hair. So I ran 100 different tests to figure out what was wrong, and they couldn't put a finger on it. So I literally never shaved my face or my head for about 3.5 years. Then about, I don't know, year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I started growing a little hair, and I'd have to shave, not my head, but here. Then about a year ago, I had a little hair on the side. Like I even got a little hair growing on my head.
That's nice.
You can't see. I got the old man kind of.
I like that. It's good looking. Yeah.
The old man half dome growing back in here.
Frank Barone.
So, but towards the end of this past season, man, I was having to shave once a week. And so when the season ended, I said, I'm going to let it go and see what happens. And, it's still not completely full. I got this bald spot. It does not grow down here. As you can see, it's not growing here very fast, but, but still, I'm more concerned with that white on your face. Like I coach and I'm 60. That's a bad combination because that means you age in dog years. So it's really more like 97. But come on, man! Like raising two kids got you looking like me.
Raising two kids, businesses, everything. We'll stay away from the other personal side of it. That can age you very quickly in certain relationships. But no, I'm doing good. I thought about coloring it in. But I'm like, I don't want to be one of those guys. We'll just let it go. Just let it go. So it's good to see you. Look forward to covering a lot of topics. We will get to it. I don't know if you've really taken notice. It'll be this year when we start the season. Next March is 10 years. Unbelievable. It's 10 years since the Final Four run, and we'll get to that. But I wanted to cover a couple other topics with you. And you're such an interesting person. I got to know you through a lot of different ways, your background, how you grew up, your parents and everything. And the first thing I was going to ask is kind of what was your inspiration driving you to coaching, driving you into teaching? Because I think people forget you started as a high school coach. You were a high school teacher. We talk about me dealing with kids and white beards. At one point, you were dealing with high school kids as a teacher, a math teacher.
Yeah, I was a 17-year-old. I graduated. I just turned 17 on March of my senior year. So 2 months later, I'm a high school graduate. So I'm a baby. Can you imagine in today's day and age if you graduate at 17? Like everyone's 19 years old now. But I graduated. My high school coach, I was determined to play college basketball, even though I stunk. My high school coach, Shaky Rodriguez, who was the equivalent of Carl Williams or Eau Claire. Oh my God.
George Glimp.
Coach Glimp. Holy cow. Yeah. He was the equivalent of those guys in South Florida. And, he calls me in. He says, "Hey, I got you a scholarship to be a manager at the University of Florida." And I was like, "I want to play." He's like, he was trying to tell me, like, you stink, bro. What do you like? Just go to school for free. And nobody in my family had ever gone to college. So no one had ever stepped foot on college. So it wasn't part of the growing up that was the goal. Very few people in our neighborhood had gone to college. But I was determined. So he said, all right, knock yourself out. So I tried out at Miami-Dade, South Campus. At the time, they had 3 different campus teams. I went to Miami-Dade South, tried out there. I had a friend that was going to go try out too, and I got cut. Shortly after that, I ripped up my knee. And I was like, think about the beautiful specimen of a man that I am right now. I was weighing 175 pounds then. That's how lean. That's how lean I had gotten because I was so determined to play, and ripped up my knee. And ACL back in 1984, that was an eternity. Like that took forever and ever and ever to fix. And so I quit school. I quit. I was crushed. I was not into college. I was, just let me go work and make money, help my mom pay bills. And my high school coach, Shaky Rodriguez, calls me up and says, hey, come by and see me. I still lived in the neighborhood. So I went over there and he says, you need to go back to school. And I said, I'm good. I'm going to just work and pay bills. And it's the only time in my life that I said no to him. And he said, well, if you're not going to go back to school, then come back around and help us coach because, all the young guys in the neighborhood respect you so much. And I was like, Coach, I'm like 18 years old, man. I'm South Beach had just started to boom. Like it was just starting to happen. I'm like, I'm out, man. I make money, help my mom, and I'm going to go live life. But he said, no, come by. So I started coming by, and I fell in love with it, man. And here we are, literally 42 seasons later, and I'm so fortunate. He was an incredible mentor. He died during that COVID. Like he died right before the COVID season, the season we played in empty gyms. And these are the things, Will, that people don't. No one ever asked me, and I don't speak about personal stuff too much. I speak about who I am, but I don't talk about personal stuff too much. And but that COVID season was really complicated for everybody, not me, everybody. And forever and ever, every time I was trying to make difficult decisions, I'd call Shaky and I'd ask him questions. And even if I didn't take his advice and do what he told me to do, listening to his voice because he's the first person that ever believed in me in basketball, gave me the confidence that I can go make my decision and it was going to be okay. And he died early November, right before the season of that COVID year. And now I'm going through that COVID season, and it was complicated, man, for everybody, including us, my health, my team. I had guys on the team didn't want to play. There was a game at Tennessee where Tennessee players had tested positive a day before, and they made us go play the game, even though they were positive on the bus headed home from whatever game they had played on a Saturday, and we're playing on Tuesday or whatever. Our guys said, we ain't playing. And they made us go play the game. And it was a complicated year. And I'm not trying to pass blame. I'm just saying some of the stuff that we were managing behind the scenes because everything was so new, so different for everybody. And not having his voice made it really, really hard for me to make my decisions that year. It was complicated. But I've figured out a way to still have my conversations with him in a different way. I don't actually hear his voice, but I feel his spirit. And but that was the beginning. That's where it all started. Along the lines, I've met incredible people, man, and Ronnie Everhart, and then Bob Huggins, and actually the other way, Bob Huggins first, and then Ronnie Everhart, and Sonny Vaccaro. Those are guys. George Raveling. Those are guys that, because of the people that I was around as a high school coach during the 80s and 90s, I got in front of a lot of guys. I got in front of a lot of college coaches, and they saw me run practice. And Sonny and George opened up doors with me with Adidas and Nike to meet people and do things that I never thought I could do. And then away we went, and here we are, man. College now. That was 16 years of high school, and now college is 20. How many? 7 and 19. 26 years in college basketball. So it's if you had polled every coach in America back in the summer of 2000 when I made the decision that I was going to take the jump and go to college basketball. If you had polled every coach in America and you had said Frank Martin's going to be a Division I head coach, winning over 60% of his games for 20 years, 19 years, whatever I've been now head coach, that's a bullshit. Excuse me, but that's what the majority of them would have said.
That's why I'm doing the podcast. You can say what you want. You're all good. The floor is yours. You're good. You're good.
I don't want to offend, young people that listen, but that's probably what would have been said, because I had no pedigree other than being a pretty good high school coach, other than being around good players in high school. I had no pedigree. I didn't have a college career. I didn't have a godfather in the business that helped me through. My godfather in the business was a high school coach. He wasn't a college guy. And being in Miami, Florida, where in 1987, I was 2 years into my coaching career. There was no Division I basketball and no NBA basketball. That was the first year for the University, 86 or 87, first year of the University of Miami. Miami Heat started in 1988. So we had no basketball presence outside of high school in South Florida. So to think that here I am, it's an unbelievable deal.
With that being said, you just talked about the impact that Shaky had on your life. As you coach, as you get these kids in, again, being a teacher, how do you want to be remembered by your players? And we'll get to it 10 years later from that Final Four run, the relationships that you want to have with your guys, not just the times you coach them, but in the years following.
It's what's always kept me in the business. The winning and losing is complicated, always has been. Coaching high school basketball, man, when I came back to Miami senior, I left for 2 years to run my own program. And then I came back in 1995 after leaving in 93. We had a 100-game home winning streak, and I benched 3 starters because I didn't go to class. I got booed off the court because we lost. It's at the end of the year, the school had won 30 games in 10 straight seasons or 9 straight seasons, something like that. We had 23 wins when the regular season ended. We're playing in the conference in the district playoffs, and there's a pep rally, and I walked out, sold out. It's my school. I still lived in the neighborhood. I went to school there. I spent more than half my life at the time invested in that gym. They booed the hell out of me when they introduced me. And but then we won 7 in a row, won 30, and won a state championship. Then all of a sudden, everybody wanted to hug and kiss me back then. So the winning and losing is complicated. Always has been, always will be. But the relationships is what's always kept me in it. Whether it's Jacob Pullen, who just texted me 2 days ago because he just finished. He says he's done. I say BS. He's going to play another year, but. Him and Denny Clemente are both about the same age. Denny wants to retire. Jacob says he's going to retire, and they both want to get into coaching. So it's either them or it's Thornwell, who, he just left for Mexico, I think about a month ago or so. And he just, he's been on a journey, and he's allowed me to be a part of the journey that he's been on since he left there. Or Michael Beasley, who I just spoke to Monday. He did that podcast with Shannon Sharp, and he opened up about a lot of things. So I texted him. I was like, "Yo, man, I'm really proud of you, man. I continue to learn from you because you're so genuine." And so it's that's what it's all about. PJ Dozier, Miss T, Teresa, his mom. We're in touch all the time. PJ's playing, so I try not to bother PJ. But Teresa, she's her and my family. Our families have become dear friends. It's I remember. I'll give you the cliff notes. Like with PJ, the beginning of his time at Carolina was complicated with his dad. Because his dad thought he was going to walk in and average 23 points a game, which, by the way, he never averaged 23 points a game in high school because he was a pass-first guy. But that's what his dad thought he was going to do. And at the end of his freshman year, everyone around PJ was like, you're talking about the Final Four. And we had just had the disappointment in 16 where we got the text saying, "Welcome to the NCAA tournament." And then we're told 5 minutes later, "Oh, wrong school." Like, are you serious? that was some charades, which if you want to talk about, I will. But then every adult around PJ except his mom was telling PJ he should go to the draft. So I sit down with PJ, and PJ sits in my office. He goes, "Are you kidding me? I can't guard a chair. How am I going to be a pro? I need to get better." And that's the how humble that kid was, and that's why that team won, because of people like him. And that's why the following year, when he says to me on Easter Sunday, "I'm keeping my name in the draft," I celebrated it with him. Because we're coming off a Final Four. He had a great NCAA tournament, and he had that bad knee. And I'm not trying to convince him to stay in college after he gave so much to elevate the program to a place that it's never been to. So, but those relationships, and I can go on and on and on. Jamel Martinez, I don't know if you remember that name.
No.
Played at Kentucky, played for us in high
Okay.
school. My staff at UMass, I got Brian Steele, who played for me in South Carolina, Alan Edwards, who played for me in high school, Doug Edwards, who played for me in high school. My strength coach, Tony Reguera, was my high school teammate. It's Matt Figger. I just brought him back, who was with me in Carolina at K-State. I'm about those relationships, man. It's what's always pushed me, what continues to drive me in today's game. That's what's gotten different, Will. That's everyone talks about. It's the same crap, man. I coached Beasley for 10 months. It's the same crap. The difference is, man, that the adults in these kids' lives are pushing them always to greener pastures somewhere else. And the kids can't just relax and grow where they're at. They're always worried about, like I had a meeting with a player on my team right now about 2 weeks ago. And he's saying, "Hey, in November," I'm like, "Dude, why are you talking about November?
Yeah.
It's April. Why are you worried? Like, why are you worried about November, man? Let's enjoy April. Let's work our asses off. Let's get to know each other better. Let's help you get better." And he sat there and he thought about it. He was like, "Man, I didn't think about it like that." Being able to have those conversations with players and create that real relationship is what's always pushed me.
Makes me feel a little bit better for you to say that, because I'm working with my son on that, and kind of telling him he's worried about the varsity season. He's coming off of his knee injury, and I've been like, "Hey, don't worry about October and November. It is May or it's April. We got a long way to go. Nothing you do right now will impact that draft. The only thing you can do is work out, get better, eat right, sleep right." And I'm hoping it's sinking in. I'm hoping I'm being a good dad. I'm hoping he's buying it, or I'm just another guy shouting in his ear. But anyway, that's good to hear from you. Well, let's get to a little bit of the South Carolina aspect of it.
Yeah.
And you just brought it up. I don't think you can talk about the Final Four season without going back the year before. And you mentioned it, the infamous text message that I guess was meant for Southern Cal that came to y'all. Number one, walk us through the process of how that works, because that seems a major mistake that would be owed great repayment to y'all for doing something of that nature. Number one, the team should have been in. I think y'all were 24-8, 24-9.
Set a school record for wins. Finished third in the SEC. We're 11-7 in league play. I mean, I can go on and on and on. Vanderbilt finished sixth. We finished third. We beat them in the regular season. And they take Vanderbilt and leave us out. And, here's a great story about that day. So everything leading into the conference tournament, we were from Lenardi to the people that I was on the phone with that not have influence, but speak to people, for lack of better words. You got nothing to worry about, Frank. You guys are in. You guys are in. You guys are in. So I wake up Sunday morning, Selection Sunday, go to church over at St. John Newman over there. And I check before we go to see what Lenardi's saying, solidly in the tournament. All of a sudden, I get out of church, and Lenardi, for the first time, all year, for the first time, has us out. I said, that's weird. Got Vanderbilt in. So I called Kevin Stallings. And I said, Kevin, like, what's going on, man? You've been in the league 20 years. And Kevin had obviously had a conversation with Mike Slive, because Kevin had information that I didn't know. He said, Frank, the league's only getting 3 teams in. And So I think it's either you guys or us. I'm not sure which one, but it's one or the other. And I'm sitting there saying, how's this happen? And Kevin, if you remember, his job was on the line at the time. And which, by the way, here's a funny inside scoop, being at Carolina. So when I took over, I'm not into trying to kick what happened before me. That you've never heard me say anything negative about the program, what was going on before I got there, nor will I. But had been in last place a couple of years, all right, and we come in and we start working. Every year we finished higher, first year, second year, third year, and the school never approached me because now I've got 3 years out of the way. I got 3 years left on the contract. And back then, this mattered. This don't matter anymore. Back then, this mattered. Well, how are you going to recruit if the school ain't committing 4 years to you? Because, we're going to trust our kids with you, and how are they going to be there if you're not going to be there? And the season ended. No one even brought up my contract to me. Not a conversation about it. I don't care. I don't get out of bed worried about that. But I was like, I got it. So they're not going to come speak to me. They're not even going to acknowledge or give me like a plan. Like, hey, Frank, listen, man, we thought that by year 3 we'd be at a different place than we are right now. We're not. So we're not prepared to extend. Or, Frank, we want to extend under these conditions. Nothing. There's no conversation, which it is what it is. So we go about our business. Now we go out. We win 15 in a row to start the season. We're rolling. Now the school comes up to me. Hey, we got to sign a new contract. I say, I'm not doing that in the middle of the season, man. You guys had the whole off season and had this conversation. I don't do contracts in the middle of the season. I am emotionally and mentally invested in this group of guys, and we're going to go win some games. And I told Ray Tanner, I said, when the season ends, you have my word. I'm not talking to another school. I don't do that. When the season ends, I'm going to take 2 days, take a deep breath, recompose myself, and then I'll engage with you. If you and I are not in a good place, then I might listen to somebody else. But that's exactly what I did. Season ended. By the way, one of the most powerful things I've ever been a part of as a coach was that team got screwed. Will, think about this. We finished 6 or higher in the SEC 6 times. We finished 5th or higher 5 times. Like now in the SEC, you finish in 5th, you're like a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. Okay. But about a week removed from that whole fiasco that night where we got left out. It's not that we didn't make it. We got left out. Big difference. And there were some, I can't prove it. So I can't say it's definitely, this is the proof. I'm a human being. I lived it. I got an opinion. Somebody bamboozled us to get us out of the tournament. It is what it is. So, about a week later, I'm sitting around the office and I'm still miserable. And Thornwell and PJ come in and see me, says, yo, when we starting workouts? I'm like, bro, like we just got screwed. Like I'm exhausted. We worked our asses off, set a school record for wins. We went from last place in the SEC to 3rd in the SEC. And you can't get in the NCAA tournament? And Thornwell said to me, he said, so what? We got to get to work. We got to get in that tournament. We got some unfinished business. And I sat up on my desk that day. I got the hairs on my arms, if I had any. they're like standing up right now. I kind of sat up on my desk and I said, you know what, man, you're right. We got to get back on that court and get to work. And those are the guys that shook me up to get me to go right away. And that's where the whole theme for that year, unfinished business, got started at. And it never ended. And then that group of guys was unbelievable, man, how relentless those guys were that following year.
Let's move to that. So that's a lot of background information on that. And as you mentioned, that's what propelled, I don't know if it propelled knowing Sindarius the way I do or did know him. I was always so appreciative of him, the way he wouldn't duck camps. I could tell him we were doing something somewhere, and him and his uncle, they would be there. They didn't care. They wanted a piece of everybody. They wanted all the smoke that was coming with it. They wanted everybody's best shot. And then when they beat you, they were going to let you know about it. I was always worried about Unc. We'd have some of these things, and I'd have somebody out there cooking ribs or something, and I'd have to give him some food and be like, settle down over there. We're just trying out here to have some basketball and have some fun. Settle down. But I always appreciated that about him. But then you go to the next year. For a person like me, and I little background on that, I am at that point in my life going through a divorce. And I'll never forget, I had to go down to Charleston the night y'all played Marquette. I had to go to Charleston, and I get back. I'm exhausted. I had never seen South Carolina win an NCAA tournament game in my life. Really hadn't seen many games. The last time prior to that had been 2002, I think, and they played the noon game on a Thursday, which didn't even feel like being in the NCAA tournament because it happened so quickly, and you're out and you're like, wait, where? As a matter of fact, those guys, that 2002 team, they were back by Sunday, spending their per diem money down in 5 Points at St. Patrick's and 5 Points, and we're watching the NCAA tournament like we weren't even in it, were we? This didn't matter, but you win that game that night, and I think for all of Gamecock Nation at that point, it's a huge relief. You've done something that hadn't happened in 40 plus years at that point, and I don't know how you felt. How did you feel after beating Marquette? Because for a lot of Gamecock, they're like, wow, we are allowed to win an NCAA tournament game. We are allowed to go to a weekend round.
Yeah, I carry Rich, who's become like a brother to me. Like I just saw CJ at the Final Four. CJ, his son, has gotten involved with the NCAA, and he's going to be a leader of people, and just incredible family, incredible folks. But I took Carrie up there to Greenville, and the night before the game, I'm at peace, man. The postseason, I'm at peace. The regular season, I'm worked up. Postseason, I'm at peace. And we went up to Greenville, and there's a little place right by the hotel. Went in there to smoke a cigar and just enjoy the moment as a guy that was a team captain at South Carolina, that lived his life for that program. And me as a coach, he became an ally to me from day one, to be able to share that moment with him. So we just sat there and laughed and joked. We talked about the good, the bad, and the ugly leading into that day. So then the game starts. And I don't know if you remember, we're down 10-0. I got to call a timeout. And we're down 10-0, and I called timeout, and I was like, yo, like, relax, dudes. Like, jeez, because our guys are we had a hell of a year. And then we dealt with Sindarius's. We were rolling, dude, like, we're going to go win this thing. And we dealt with Sindarius's suspension, if you remember that. We're like top 15 in the country, and not just playing well. We beat the brakes off of Michigan at home. It's John Beilein's worst offensive game in his career. We go into New York and beat the brakes off of Syracuse. And that team is rolling. I got to suspend Sindarius. And then he comes back. Then PJ has a bad neck. He I don't know if he slipped a disc. I don't remember what it was, but he just woke up, fell asleep on the bus going to Kentucky, and woke up and couldn't move his neck. He misses a week. We lose Rolf Felder to a knee. We lose Hassani Gravett to mono. All this right in the middle of the season. And we're trying to manage all this and fighting our tails off. And we're still winning games, but now we lose some after being undefeated and rolling and all that. And by the end of the year, we played at Florida, and it's the first time that we were healthy again, and we lost. But we actually played well. And I get it. Fans are like, man, this guy, he's happy. I wasn't happy we lost. I was happy we finally played well again. And Florida's a team that we ended up beating to go to the Final Four. So it's not like they were schleps. And now we start playing well again at the end of the year, going to the tournament. We're down 10-0. And those guys in that huddle, man, they were at peace, and away we went, man. And then the rest of that game, we went from down 10 to up 20. We flipped that game by 30 points. And that was a credit to those kids, man. The commitment they had to each other, their willingness to grow during the season, not get wrapped up with the negative noise. Oh, here we go again. There we go. They're going to lose. Blah blah blah. They stayed the course, man. Stayed the course, and it goes back to the spring of 16. Sindarius and PJ in my office saying, "Yo, we got to get to work, man. We got to get better." And they both led us. They both became much better players, and they led us in that incredible run.
The following Sunday or that Sunday night, you beat Duke. And I will always say that for greatest South Carolina achievements is Ray Tanner winning the national championship in baseball and you getting to the Final Four. And I'll even make the case that South Carolina getting to the Final Four is a greater achievement because of the lack of success in basketball prior to your arrival. There had been a pocket here and a pocket there, but you've never seen it. And I think you and I had a conversation one time very early on, maybe as you were getting closer, it was when y'all were really good. And I think you made the comment to me, you said, "Hey, I'm out here recruiting." You said, "Well, Steve Spurrier can go over here and point to success in the past. Lou Holtz had it. There's here and there." He goes, "I go out here, most of the parents don't remember us ever winning an NCAA tournament. I'm trying to sell something that I can't even go back 40 years. Yeah. We got to do it, brand new." And you finally get to that point and you beat Duke. And I say all that because I'm not sure if beating Duke isn't the best. It's probably the best basketball victory South Carolina's ever had. It's up there with one of the ACC tournament championships they won. I can't remember exactly which one because I wasn't live. But talk about that and correlate that. I know you've had a bunch to your best victories in life. And I know that wasn't the one that got you to the Final Four. That would come the following weekend, as you mentioned, against Florida. But that Duke victory, and I think what it meant to South Carolina fans, because that was an old ACC rival, and Duke is Duke. And they had Grayson Allen, and they had who was the other big wing that they had that's going on?
Oh, that Duke team was loaded. They had the left-handed kid that's with the Lakers right now from Ohio that can shoots a cover off the ball. They had Grayson. Their starting guards were Matt Jones, NBA, Grayson Allen, NBA, Jason Tatum, NBA, Emil Jefferson, NBA, and I'm missing one guy.
I'll have it here in a second.
Yep. And Luke, it's Luke, whatever. That's the other starter.
Kynard.
Luke Kennard. Yeah, him.
Kennard.
Luke Kennard. That's playing with the Lakers right now. That was their starting five. Then off the bench, they had a kid from Utah, that NBA, Frank, can't remember his name.
He actually started this game. Frank Jackson started.
He started, and Matt Jones came off the bench.
No, it was Jackson and Jones and Kynard. Grayson Allen came off the bench for 33 minutes that night, and then Harry Giles III played 9 minutes. Yeah,
another NBA guy. And then you had Chase Jeter, Delarier. There were McDonald All-Americans that would come off the bench. They were stacked, and obviously, when you get to Carolina, South Carolina, which I learned to call it Carolina from South Carolina folks, and I've always called it Carolina. When I get to Carolina, I rapidly realized the complete, I don't know what it is, but there's a disconnect between North Carolinians and South Carolinians in basketball. Total disconnect. I also learned as I went through time that there was also a disconnect with the states. And I always felt like North Carolina is always pointing the finger at South Carolina. And I don't know. I just always, there's a different vibe between North Carolinians and South Carolinians. And then you start learning the history, which is important to me. Frank McGuire, ACC, North Carolina, leave the ACC to come to this Carolina, and then the history with Duke and so forth. And so now here we are, and we're in the NCAA. Yep.
Let me ask, because I've heard this rumor, but you can maybe speak to it if you ever tried. It is my understanding that North Carolina and Duke will not play South Carolina in the regular season. I don't know if you ever made an attempt. It's got to be a neutral site, and it's got to be in a tournament of some format. But they will not just up and play South Carolina.
Yeah, they never. The coaches Roy and Coach K never said that to me. I tried really hard to get them on the schedule, both, and the their schedules are controlled by TV, and then they got to have X. They sell out every game, so they got to have a X number of home games for the season ticket package. So, I'm not into sitting around questioning why people don't schedule certain schools. Those schools, scheduling in those schools is really complicated. I always felt we're neighboring schools. If I elevate our program, which we did, why can't we play each other? We play each other in every other sport. Why can't we play in men's basketball? But it never happened. I couldn't get the powers to be to make it happen. But it's I've never known why. I obviously the Frank McGuire divorce, the South Carolina divorce from the ACC. Yeah. That's a long-standing fight that happened way before you and I. So, but where I was going with this, Will, and if you remember, because of the flag being at the Capitol for so long, the state could never host NCAA tournament games.
Right.
And that event was supposed to be in Greensboro, North Carolina. And they had a situation with a bathroom, something about signs in the bathroom or something about gender or so, I can't remember. And they decided to change the tournament to Greenville, South Carolina. So it's for the first time ever that we're having a tournament, and it's in our state, and we're in it. And now we're walking out to go to the Sweet 16, and it's Big Bad Duke on the other sideline over there. And and I remember I said the story, I hadn't said it in a while, and it goes again, man, the power of your players when you have a team that's connected, and as a coach, you trust in them and they trust in you. We come we're playing well in the first half. They just ain't missing. And they got pros, and we're guarding them, and they're taking difficult shots. They're just not missing. And at halftime, that was my whole deal to them, is like, just stay the course, man. Stay the course. Percentages. If they keep shooting like this, even the Lakers aren't beating them today. But eventually they're going to miss. When they miss, we got to make our push. Well, to start the second half, that's what happened. They miss, score, boom, boom, timeout. So now we're in a huddle and in a tie game early in the second half, and I wanted to run a certain play. And Thornwell, again, says to me, "No, Frank, run Gamecock. Gamecock is a lob play." I'm like, "Sin, are you I'm not going to say the word that I used in the huddle. We've tried it like 6 times. We don't even complete the pass. Forget. He said, "Run it. It's going to work." I said, "All right, run it." Man, we came out, boom, 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 lob, Silva, lob dunk behind the zone. And we just, boom. And it just took off. And personally, for me, I got up because we're up 11 with 40 seconds to play or something. In my back of my mind, I know Krzyzewski has an 11-point play in his back pocket. So I'm still worked up, we got to get to the finish line here. So they miss a free throw. We get the rebound. I look down, and Coach K waves them off. And I sat there and I was like, holy cow. We just got Coach K. See, we at K-State, we were number 3 in the country. They were number 2 in the country. Kyrie Irving's year, Jacob Poland's year for us, and we played each other. The number 1 team had lost. So the winner of that game will be number 1 team in the country. And they beat us. They beat us by 14 or something. And now here we are again to go to Sweet 16, and Coach K got up and said, "Don't foul." And I'll never forget that, man. That as a coach, because he is the guy in my lifetime that ran basketball. Forget college basketball. And to get him to say, "Don't foul," I was like, wow, we're actually doing this, man. This is unbelievable. Then the game ends, and then you realize, you got North Carolina fans, you got Gamecock fans, everyone crying, in Greenville, the power of, if Nikki Haley doesn't fight to take that flag down, that game doesn't happen in our state. That game happens in Greensboro, North Carolina. all those things coming together was just a powerful moment on that court after the game.
Let's fast forward to the next weekend on a
Mhm.
Sunday. I'll never forget. I had been with the kids on a trip down in Myrtle Beach, and we made it back in time to watch the Florida game on here in Lexington. Is that because you don't know what's coming the next week? You just know the euphoria of getting to the Final Four, a lifelong goal. Was that the happiest you've ever been as a head coach, or is there another time? But was that maybe the happiest you've been in that post game celebration in Madison Square Garden?
Yeah, I mean, it's up there.
Yeah.
It's up there.
As a coach, I know having children
Yeah.
born and then getting married,
Yeah.
those are. But as a coach,
No. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I'm just, Will, it's there's incredible joy in different moments in a career, in the profession in coaching. But that's up there. I've no one's ever asked me that before. I'm trying to connect a lot of dots here for a lot of years. That was a powerful moment for me when that buzzer sounded. See, like in our business, in our profession, you understand this. A lot of people don't know this. When as a coach, you lead your team to the Final Four, you become a member of a very small exclusive club. And we were so close in 2010 at K-State. We're up 1 with 3 to play against Butler, and we couldn't close the game out. And that was heartbreaking. And to know that we were that close and couldn't get it done, there's no guarantee that you ever have the opportunity to be in that game again. And now you hit fast forward to 2017, and you're in that game again. And it's against a common opponent, an opponent that you know inside and out. They know you too, but you know them. And then I spoke about this back then. I haven't talked about it in a long time, but Frank McGuire, the underground New York Railroad, all the players from New York to South Carolina, Madison Square Garden, the Mecca of basketball. My wife's family's from New York. My sister's been living in New York with her family since 1988. One of the areas I've always recruited really hard is New York, because I spent so much time in the AAU world with guys from New York and high school coaches from New York, and through Sonny Vaccaro and George Raveling, those high school sponsored kind of deals that we all had. I was always with the coaches from the Northeast. It's just, you start connecting all the dots. And now it's like South Carolina, we're going to the Final Four, man. And my staff is literally Matt Figger, Scott Greenewald. Those guys that, been with me, Bruce Schindler, they've been with me from K-State, and how close we were before. Now we actually got over the hump. The funniest part about that post-game celebration is I'm in a group hug on the court. I got my mom, my wife, and Darius Rucker. So it's us 4. And all 3 of them are profusely crying. And Darius has snot coming out of his nose, and it's all over my shirt. And it's like, this is ridiculous, man. Like, holy cow. I guess I never thought about it along those lines. That was a pretty, powerful moment. Personally, for the school, professionally, for our group, for so many people, the entourage of Carolina fans in Madison Square Garden that night was unbelievable, man. I walked out for that game and I saw that sea of garnet out there up in New York, walking through whatever you call that area in New York with all the I can't remember what it's called. Where Madison Square Garden's at, that whole and seeing Dwayne Notice and our players and the Gamecock lit up on all these high-rise buildings on the side of the buildings. I was like, holy cow, man, this is awesome. But just disappointed we couldn't get over the hump. once we made it to the following week, and disappointed that in those great years that I was at that university, man, that we didn't get a chance to get back in that tournament to make another run. It was an empty feeling for me, not just for me, but for the people that believed in me as much as so many people in that community and that school did.
Well, let's go to that following weekend. I don't know if you've ever spoke on this. Maybe I missed it. It's 10 years ago. Maybe I forgot it. But the long-standing belief that Sindarius Thornwell had the flu, played with the flu. It kind of came out of nowhere. That if he had been healthy, maybe the game is entirely different. Because you're right, how Sindarius was playing in that particular postseason and played that whole season is maybe one of the best singular seasons in South Carolina history. You guys are down, I think it was 16. You rally, and then their big guy, whose name I probably couldn't pronounce if I really remembered
Zach Collins. Here, I'll tell you, Zach Collins. I haven't forgotten that 3-point shot that was a dead duck that landed on the rim and the backboard at the end of the clock and went in. Yes.
But is that about Sindarius? Is that true? Is that, I mean, how much of that? What can you tell us about that day, that game, him, everything that kind of transpired, and how that game went down?
Yeah, I think it was a Tuesday that we got on the plane and took off to go across the country. And we're probably an hour into the flight. And our trainer, Mark Roger, who you know well, comes up to me and says, "Hey, we got a problem with Sin. And the doctors feel like we might have to land the plane." I'm like, "What?" And they say, "Yeah, his fever's like through the roof, and he's just not doing well back there." The doctors felt comfortable that they can that he was okay, so they allow us to land, and we landed, and he went straight to a hospital, and they put an IV in him in the hospital, whatever. Let him go that night. Came to the hotel. He was literally in bed for 3 straight days with fever. His fever broke late Thursday night. So he was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Late Thursday night, his fever breaks. So the doctors cleared him to partake in practice on Friday. So then he took part of all the stuff that you do on Friday and all that. We tried to limit him. Didn't try to. He had lost some weight. He was in bed for 3 straight days, and the fever's gone. If there's fever, doctors will not allow them to play. Once the fever breaks, doctors are good with them playing. So he woke up on Saturday, no fever. So it was, all right, let's play him. You go back and you look at the halftime stats, you'll realize where we were down. Sin didn't play well in the first half. And, what are you going to do at halftime? You're playing in the Final Four. You're playing a really good team. And you're in the locker room and you're talking to your players in a positive way about, we just got to stay the course and overcome here. It's going to happen for us. We've been in this moment every single game in the tournament. Marquette, the only game we didn't play from behind was Baylor. The other 3 games, we were down against Marquette, down against Duke, down against Florida, and we just kept playing, and overcame at the end. That's all we talked about. And Sin comes in the huddle to start the second half, and I was like, uh-oh. Oh, boy, woke up. He feels a little better now. I don't know what he drank, but he feels better. And he went out to that second half, man, and he was unbelievable. And, and he's the guy that our team followed. And, his courage, that attitude that you spoke about when country and used to walk into your events and camps and Sin and country wanted the best. Who's the best? Well, that's who I want to play against. He wasn't going to run away because he had been sick from that moment on that day. That was the mindset that kid and that family had. And that's the mindset that led our program. And away we went, man. And we went from down 14 to up 2. And I'll never forget, we scored and they called timeout when we take that lead, or we tied the game, excuse me. And that 78,000 people, man, I thought 77 were rooting for us. I mean, that place erupted. I was like, wow. Because the whole baseline behind the basket, right by our bench, it was all our students, all Gamecocks. And that whole thing just erupted. I was like, holy cow, man. I can't believe all these people came across the country to watch these kids play. Um, but unfortunately, man, we couldn't close the deal. I'm gonna give you a little deal there about the end of the game. So we ran it against Marquette. Anytime we needed a bucket, if Rolf Felder was in the game, this is the play I would run because Rolf Felder is so good in a ball screen. And it's real simple. It's Rolf Felder coming off a side ball screen by Chris Silva and and a backside flare screen between PJ Dozier and Sindarius, our two best players. Okay. So they don't want to help off of that. So now we can drive it or play through pick and roll. And if they do help off your two best players, now you got one of your two best players in space with the ball to attack. And against Marquette was small. The way they guarded the ball screen, Ra was able to refuse it. So now he can get downhill going to his left hand and scored. Well, he made that read. We're in a 2-point game and it's about a minute to go. And we ran the play and he's coming off the ball screen and he saw the guard cheated and he crossed over and went. And I'm sitting on the sideline saying no, because their center was a 7'2" guy that looked like an eclipse. And their power forward was a 6'9" freak athlete that played in the NBA. But he's that courage, man. He crossed over and went, and he did everything perfect. He took on the size, he turned his body, kept the shot blocker off the shot, and extended the shoot. Just missed. If he makes it, we tie the game. But he missed. Instead, now they come down, we fouled, and they make their free throws up 4. And but that was one of those moments in the game where I wish we could have done that one over, and I would have been a little more. I hate telling players, like I tell players all the time, we're not in a video game, man. You got to see the game, know what I'm running, who it's for, but you got to be a basketball player. You got to make decisions and be convicted to what you see. And I wish I would have been a little more persuasive that moment and said, Raw, this is not the time to drive. I need the ball in Sindarius or PJ's hands. I wish I would have done that. I didn't do that, and I wish I would have.
It was an incredible run. Man, I'll say this. You mentioned the fans coming. Look, it was further proof that when you win, whether it's baseball or basketball, now you can do it in football with the tournament, the fans will follow you. They want to be a part of something special. And you mentioned that atmosphere at Madison Square Garden. I mean, even going back to the atmosphere in Greenville to Madison Square Garden to Phoenix and the Final Four was incredible. We'll close out with 2 different questions here. One, obviously, that off season, you got a lot going on. You come off of the season, momentum is built. A lot of fans discuss the way that the celebration, the banner hanging went for the Final Four the next week. I think it was a directional Michigan school on a midweek game. Did that bother you in terms of how they kind of treated this accomplishment?
Yes. And I thought that was I had to get in a behind the scenes fight. If you remember, we scrimmaged Virginia Tech in one of those open scrimmages to raise money for the flood victims over there in North Carolina. And you remember that big flood that happened on the coast over there? So Buzz and I agreed that let's do this open scrimmage and let's raise money. And school didn't want to do it. And they didn't want to do it. I had to fight. They felt like nobody would come. And I'm like, we just played in the Final Four. Virginia Tech just went to the NCAA tournament. Like, I thought and I say we, I'm including myself in it, the university, we dropped the ball. Here's a wild stat for you, Will. We sold more season tickets before the Final Four than we did the season after the Final Four. Think about that. Like, how's that happen? I thought we dropped the ball. I thought we should have done more. I was disappointed that the game where we dropped the banner, how it wasn't really promoted. There was probably 4,000 people in the stands. I wasn't mad. I wasn't mad at the fans. I was mad at us internally that we didn't do more to promote the beginning of that season. That's like dropping an easy screen pass with no one in front of you on the flat. That we go to a Final Four and we sell fewer season tickets after the Final Four than we did before the Final Four. That's an internal drop pass. And
is that do you take some blame for that, or is that more on the universe? How do you view that?
I'm not into blaming.
Right. Okay.
I'm a part of it. It's what could have been different. I don't know. We had now the 5 year the Final Four was my 5th year at the school. That was our 4th consecutive year, top 20 in attendance. Like people were coming to our games. Guy named Josh Waters, who worked in marketing. I don't know if you remember the name. Josh is still in the community. Josh, at the end of my first year, I was really unhappy with the marketing. Like, here's a great story. So it's my first season. I know we're not very good. I don't need people to tell me that. So I show up for my radio show in January, and I walk into the chicken wing place over there. I can't remember. Wild
Wings. Mm-hmm.
I walk in, and it's packed. I'm like, holy cow. Like, I ain't seen these many cars for my radio show since I've been here. And it's my first year. So I'm like trying to find parking. I finally get there. I'm a little late. Now I come in the front door, and it is packed in there. And I'm like, what's going on here? So as I'm walking towards the stage, I see Coach Spurrier sitting at the table up there. And I said, Coach came out to support me today. And as I'm getting close, Liz McMillan comes running over to me, and she says, they didn't tell you? I said, didn't tell me what? We canceled your show this week because we're going to have the football recruiting preview show instead. And I looked at Liz, who I didn't know well at the time. And by the way, she was phenomenal, an incredible ally. But I didn't know her very well at the time. I looked at her. I was like, are you kidding me? And she said, I can't believe you weren't told. I'm so sorry. She tried to own it. And I said, no problem. I turned around. I left. I got in the car. I called Kevin O'Connell. I said, Kevin, I'm never doing another radio show again. And he's like, well, what happened? I said, this is embarrassing that I just walked in there and this is what was going on. And so I share that, Will, because we overcame that moment for then the next 4 years become a top 20 in the country attendance team. Josh Waters is who helped me. I went in that community, and it's one of the reasons we love living there, because I just didn't show up to games and practice. I was involved in that community all over the place as my family. We got to know so many people. So many people helped us. So many people became friends to us because we were involved in the community. I didn't get treated as a basketball coach. I got treated as a member of that community. After a Final Four, that moment could have happened. What could we have done to make that Final Four different? Now, Josh, the university and Josh divorced halfway through the Final Four year. So we lost Josh as my ally as far as promotion and building and getting us in front of all the right people. But I don't have the answer. I know it was frustrating for me, but I was a part of it. I'm not into the blame game. I've never been a blame game guy. You ask me a question, I'll tell you what I lived, what I saw. But if I'm a part of it, then obviously I got to be inclusive as to what went wrong. There was another game early that season. We played. I want to say it was UMass, second, third game of the year, and the game ends, and I walk out. Game ends. I go in the tunnel, headed over to do a press conference, and Ray Tanner comes over to shake my hand. I said, man, there's only 3,000 people at the game. You don't have a problem with this? And he said, come on, Frank, it's South Carolina. You know better. And I walked away from that handshake as I was going over, because he was over there to congratulate me, going over my press conference. And I said to myself, we got a major problem. We just went to the holy grail of college athletics, and we only have 3,000 or 4,000 people at a game this early in the season. And and administration felt that that's just par for the course of South Carolina. So it's disappointing, but that was the initial hit right after the Final Four.
A lot of information, a lot of, and a lot of it now, obviously, with what's going on here, being discussed as to what the administration's interest is in basketball, the relevance, and from what you just explained. I'll let you out on this one here as we hit a full hour of this, and I appreciate you taking time out. I know you got some recruiting to go and do, but how do you summarize and look back at your tenure at South Carolina? What do you recall fondly? What do you wish could have been slightly different?
I can bore you with all the positive stats. I just thought we finished 6 times. That's including a year in COVID that, our team was impacted more than anyone. But other than that, 6 times, 6 or above in league standings. We won double-figure SEC games 4 times. The school had only done that twice before. We set the school record for wins on 2 different occasions. If you take the COVID year out, you just white it out. You can't, but if you just white it out, my last 6 years there, were the winningest 6-year period since the early 70s. So I just told you about selling out. The arena had been sold out 1 time. That was when they played Georgia, first game it ever played in that arena. We sold it out either 5 or 6 times. So we can go through a lot of that stuff and give you all positive results and all that. At the end, we didn't win enough after the Final Four. We won every year leading into the Final Four more. And then from the Final Four forward, we didn't win. It's not like we were bad, but we just didn't win enough. That year after the Final Four, that was a complicated year because not only do I lose PJ to the draft, but then Rolf Felder late in June, I got to put him off the team. It's the left-handed guard. I'm drawing a blank right now. Who had transferred to us, Corey Holden, who was the top guard in the transfer market that year. He blows his hamstring in the 4th game of the season. So now we lose him, and we lost Raw, and so it was. I can bore you with nonsense. None of it's relevant. The bottom line, we didn't win enough after the Final Four, and that always hurt my soul because there were so many people in that community that were so supportive of me, my staff, and the students at the university. Man, as I travel around the country now, I have the students now that are professionals that come up to me and they're like, Coach, I'll never forget that. It's unbelievable. The experiences I had. My family and I wanted to retire there. We loved living down there. It was really stressful on my wife and children when we moved. It was a complicated moment for our family, but we're good now. Change makes everyone uncomfortable, and like I said at the time, sometimes you choose change, sometimes change chooses you. It's just the way the journey works. And I wish the end would have been differently. I really do. That place means a lot to me, means a lot to my family. This is what I'll say about the school. And I used to say this privately to the people I worked with and the powers to be at the university. There's been a disconnect between the university and its former football coaches and men's basketball coaches. You go back, we celebrated Eddie Fogler and the SEC championship team. That had never been done before. And Coach Fogler had never been celebrated by the university in any way, shape, or form. We did that. That was awesome. Dave Odom, Dave had some great years there. I just saw Ricky Stokes just text me because, Ricky's an assistant commissioner in our league now, and Ricky was there for the celebration of the Dave Odom years.
Yeah.
It's about time, man, because Coach Odom's years at South Carolina were really good. But for some reason, if you sit around and talk to a Carolina person, they rarely bring up those years. It's like they never existed. And Bill Foster, and keep going. Frank McGuire, the relationship between the university and Coach McGuire was completely broken. And I learned that from his daughter, who, when we did, you remember we named the street Frank McGuire Way or whatever,
Yeah.
the arena, and they all came back. All the players, everybody came back, and including his daughter. And the only one that didn't come back was John Roche. We couldn't get him to come back, but all those other guys, they all came back. And being around them during that celebration, I realized that there had been a major strain between the university and Coach McGuire, and all that started to heal things. But you keep going, man. Men's basketball, football, even Coach Spurrier at the end. Now he's kind of come back around a little bit, but his relationship was more with the community than it was with the university at the time he left. I was there. Like, that was not a pretty sight, at the end when he left. I hope the university, and I don't say this selfishly for me, man. I say this, there's been incredible coaches there. And for whatever reason, the separation between the university and all the coaches there is never in a positive way. And in this business, there's going to be separation. And hopefully some of these successes that the university's had with its men's football, men's basketball, and football, those two sports, can be a little better.
Coach, I appreciate it, man. I really do. You're fun to talk to. You're honest. You're up front. And I am definitely trying to get Austin and myself up to Boston to catch maybe a Bruins game, a Patriots game, a Red Sox game, and catch a little UMass basketball. My preference would be Fenway and a Massachusetts basketball game. I'm keeping a close eye on when you release your schedule this year to see if there's a good home game to try and get up to in November. So no pressure on you, but if you can get a good one there at home,
keep your ears and eyes open. We play a big game in Boston next year. Okay. And it's going to be it's a great doubleheader. You're going to find out about it as soon as you see it. That might be the one you might want to come up for. And just know this now: you better get a real jacket now. That little jacket you wear down there in Lexington, that ain't helping you up here now.
I hate to say it. This little kidney issue, man. I'm constantly freezing. It looks like I live in New York in January and February, even when it's May and June right now. So trust me on that. I'll be prepared. So, and I think I know a guy who can get me some tickets or hook me up a little bit. So we'll look forward to it. Coach, I really appreciate it. Look forward to catching up with you again soon and continue to talk some basketball. There are other things we didn't have time for today. I did want to get your thoughts. We'll come back to it. The NCAA tournament, the 76 team now expansion, and just college basketball as a whole. You tapped into it. Maybe we'll get a chance to do this again this summer and talk some relevant basketball topics about what's happening in the sport and where you see the sport going in the next decade or something. But I do appreciate you taking time today.
Absolutely, brother. Anytime you need me, I'm here. You want to do that in the summer, just give me a heads up. And to all the great Gamecocks that I know follow your shows, know that they're missed, man. They incredible place that was incredible to me and my family, my staff, and we gave it all we had. And I wish we could have won more, and I wish the end would have been a little bit different. But it is what it is, and we're all big boys, and difficult moments don't ruin real relationships. And we had a real relationship with the great people of South Carolina.
Awesome. Good to hear. Coach, I appreciate it. Take care and have a great day.
Thanks.
Sexy women in front porch are picking, getting torn up, going skinny dipping. It's country living, collard greens and fried chicken, dirt roads and fist fights are all involved on a Friday night. Game days and tailgates on a jacked up Chevrolet, CBC until the day I die. I'm country boy certified.